Hey guys, got here. Welcome to the very official Dead by Daylight player type tier list. This is a tier list of all the types of players you're likely to encounter playing Dead by Daylight in the game itself, not necessarily involving people on Twitter or social media because that's a whole separate tier list entirely, but this is just for the type of people that you see in game and the type of players that they are. So to help understand exactly what I'm talking about, let's start with the first one. All these have been painstakingly crafted by me over the course of several years, these images, so this took a lot of time. Please clap. First off, we have the super sweaty Blight player that's running for Slowdowns. This doesn't really have to apply to Blight in general. This is just the high tier killer that's running for Slowdowns. I think that's the best way to describe this. It's one of those things where it's super unnecessary. You see a nurse, just running Pain Res, Grim and Braze, Pop, and Deadlock or something like that. It's just so overkill for your actual, just regular solo queue match. It's just, I can't describe how overkill that is. So I'm going to put that at a D tier because at the very least, some of the higher end killers can be decently fun to play against, especially Blight now doesn't have any ridiculous add-ons anymore. But the fact that people still run 4 slowdowns on them, like, come on, man. Like, yeah, if you see a Trapper with 4 slowdowns, you're like, okay, I get it. But like Blight and Nurse and like Spirit, it's just, come on, man, you don't have to do that. It's just so overkill. Definitely very low tier. Next, we have the 8-hook 0-kill Giga Chad. This is easily an S tier player. These are players that they can still kill you, but before they actually start getting kills, they have 8 hooks with 0 kills. I always said that if you have someone that has 8 hooks and 0 kills, that's not an accident. You pretty much have to try specifically to get 8 hooks without killing anybody. Once you finally have those 8 hooks, then they can start killing you, and that's fine. But pretty much this is the killer that's going to get the absolute maximum amount of hooks per match, which is 12. And that, like I said, is very difficult to do, and you have to go out of your way to do it. That's not something that happens on accident. So usually it's a player that's intentionally being nice, which is going to put them in an absolute S tier for Giga Chad levels. Next, we have the Archive Throwers. These are the type of players that are going to just spend the entire game throwing just to do whatever their Archive... You know what? That's an F tier. Archive Challenge teammates are the absolute worst. They're the people that are going to go break 5 totems in a match. They're just going to pre-drop every pallet or camp pallets to get stuns on killers or whatever the current challenge is right now. You can be assured that they will ruin your game trying to get whatever it is. Easy F tier. You never want these people on your team. That's why I hate the Archives. Next, we have the Giga Chad backpack build killers. This is Mad, Grit, Agitation, and Iron Grasp. As soon as the killer downs somebody for the first time, they're going to just keep them on their back and just swing wildly and never actually hook anybody. And they just spend the entire match just trying to kill people on the backpack. Equally based are people that allow themselves to be on the back. They won't wiggle anymore once they see what's happening. And then we have an entire match where the killer is just trying to kill people with someone on their back. It's the silliest shit. Obviously, every game... having that happen every game, it would get tiring a little bit, but every once in a while seeing that shit is always funny. I'm going to put that in B tier because it does mean you're not playing a normal game of DBD anymore, but it's also not like low tier because it's just funny as shit to see, and the killers that do that clearly don't give a fuck anymore, so I have to respect the mindset that they're coming from. Next, we have the Boon Brains. Anyone that is going to spend seemingly half the match setting up boons. Now, this is less prevalent than it used to be now that Circle of Healing has been nerfed. But this is still something that you see pretty often. I had a game just yesterday. I had a Boon Meg, which is the slur for Michaela. I had a Boon Meg just against a Plague, setting up Circle of Healing like 4 times. So I'm going to put them in C tier because the things that they do still help you in some way, but it doesn't help nearly enough for them devoting so much time to doing it. So Boon Brain, that's a C tier for me. Next, we have the Please Chase Me people. These are the type of players that will spend the entire match just following the killer, just going chase me, chase me, click, chase me. You've encountered these players before. Now, as killer, I like these guys because I know they're useless. They're not going to do anything the whole match. They're just going to follow me and try to get chased. So as a killer, you can just ignore them and they just explode and internally combust because they don't really know how to handle you not giving them attention. So for me, I actually don't mind this as killer. I'm going to go and say on a more universal level, though, I'll probably have to drop them down because I bet killers do find them annoying. But take solace in the fact that they're being a useless teammate. As a solo queue player, I hate seeing these people on my team because you just know they're not going to do anything. They're just going to be useless and try to get the killer's attention. Now, typically they are good at getting chased, but any smart killer is going to realize, well, then I'm just not going to chase that person. And then that's about it. So if there's 4 of them on the team, that's a different story, but that's very rare. So next, we have the chest defenders. This is pretty much exclusive to Bubba, and I'm also going to put this in... you know what? No, I'm going to put this in B tier. The reason it's not any higher or lower, it's not any higher because at the end of the game, it's still pretty boring. You haven't really played a match of DBD, but it gets so many points for just being ultra Chad behavior of someone that doesn't care about winning anymore, that they just commit to one single bit, that you're pretty much forced to respect that. So trying to actually open the chest becomes an entirely separate game. I have definitely had a lot of fun times going in the basement, like slowly inching closer to the chest and seeing the bubble going, like, don't do that. And then you get closer and they just start shaking more rapidly. It's funny. It's a funny time. Again, seeing it sparingly, and it's honestly like A tier. If you started seeing it every game, it would start dropping low and lower. But every once in a while, this is a very funny thing to encounter. Next, we have the disconnect against low tier players. Killer people, psychos. These are the type of players that will get down by a Freddy or a Trapper and just disconnect. Like, just, what the fuck are you doing? Just, who do you want to play against? Just no one worse than them. Just play the game out. Oh my God. I understand, like, against, like, Skull Merchants and Knights and even, your 50th Wesker, that even that I understand. I'm not saying do it, but I understand it. But, like, there are people that disconnect against Freddy. It's Freddy. He puts little baby pools on the ground and you go, oh, my feet are wet. That's it. That's his whole power. He's terrible. Just stop. Next, we have Distortion Rats. This is a great image, by the way. Distortion Rats are those teammates that will unhook you and just slink into the fog. Slink into the fog. They're not sleek at all. They're actually annoying as hell. And they have distortion, so the killer can't actually find them, leading to you getting tunneled off the hook. These are the people that will end the game with 0 hook states and get the hatch, and you're like, great, you deserved it. I hate Distortion Rats. In fact, that's a D tier for me. The only upside to Distortion Rats is that they don't contribute hook states to the killer, and they might actually do gens, so that's why they're not F tier. Then we have your farmers. Now, this may be controversial. For me, farmers are D tier. If you're new to the game, farmers might as well be S tier or A tier. But for me, having played this game for 7 years, farmers are going to be very low tier for me because it's just an incredibly boring game. The killer just doesn't do anything. He just stands there. There's not even like any fun mini game like the, getting the chest or the backpack mini game. It's just the killer just sits there and goes, stun me at this pallet, stun me at this pallet. Okay, now I hook you. And then you all end with 40,000 blood points. Yay, that's great. But I don't need blood points anymore, so it's super boring to me. But again, for new player, completely different. It's likely much, much higher. But for me, even though they're well-intentioned, it's so boring that I just, no thank you. Then we have your generic toxic survivor that is going to try to get flashlight saves every single game, and that's basically all they do. You know what? I'm not even call it toxic anymore. This is just the standard I want to get flashlight saves person, and that's all they're going to do the whole game. It's kind of hard to place them because every once in a while they do hit a flashlight save and it's actually very useful. But I would say the vast majority of the time I got one of these people. I can even see him. If I'm being chased by the killer, I can see in the corner of my eye there's some super brightly colored Nia or something that's just following me with a flashlight. They're going to miss the save, or the killer's going to be smart about it and just hit them away and just not let it happen. So here, I'm just always like, just do a generator, please, man. Just do something useful with your time. But these people want to interact with the killer. They want to get saved. So I get why they do it, but I don't want them on my team. The upside is that they do sometimes actually hit flashlight saves. So that's not the end of the world, but they're usually more useless than useful. Next, I don't even remember what this image is. Oh, this is the Gens Before Friends one. I'm trying to remember what these are based off of the image. Yeah, this is Gens Before Friends. These are the types of players that will just simply sit on a hook while you die. I mean, that's just... You know what? No, I'm not going to go F tier. Ooh, this one is complicated, actually. Because sometimes sitting on the generator You know what? Controversial. I'm going to put Gens Before Friends people on C tier. Because sometimes I would almost rather lose an entire hook state and have 2 teammates do gens that whole time. Sometimes that's actually kind of good for you. most of the time you're just left and you just die and it sucks. But there are those times where the killer's kind of nearby and it likely would have resulted in them dying trying to save you. So they just leave you on the hook and they actually finish all the gens and maybe just leave. So sometimes gens before friends is good and sometimes it's bad. I just realized I don't even have like a perspective of which side this is based off of. I'm sort of just flipping back and forth here. But universally, I'd say they're more aligned in the middle. They're chaotic neutral. They're just doing something that's useful, but it's bad for you. So it's kind of hard to say, but I'd say C tier is actually probably good for that. Then we have the hit and runners. Hit and runners are going to be a solid D tier for me from a survivor perspective because it's just boring. My favorite thing in the game is getting chased. Hit and runners don't chase you ever. That's it. They just hit you, use their stealth mechanic, and just fuck off somewhere. And then they catch you again in the open with no chase because you can't see them coming or hear them coming, and they get your free down, and that's it. They're always running Sloppy Butcher and 3 other slowdowns every single time. It's always a very, very boring type of match. There are more boring things to go against, but it's up there with the most boring things because they just don't ever chase you. The one time, and the reason this is not F tier, is if you have like a healing build on, it's super hilarious to just completely negate all of the progress that the killer has. If you have like some super Giga will make it, I don't know, botany knowledge, just some super healing build. It's very funny watching all of the killer's pressure just vanish every time, and you just get 1 billion points. So it's the one thing keeping it from F tier, but other than that, very boring. Leon is in his own tier. F, he's just, I didn't even have to make art. I just stole the image from the wiki. It's just Leon. Leon is F tier. I feel like I don't have to explain anymore. If you play Leon, you become worse at the game. I don't know how. It's a phenomenon scientists have not been able to explain yet. It's incredible. Next, we have, I assume, the Giga Chad Huntress. Oh yeah, that's the Giga Chad Huntress for sure. So the Giga Chad Huntress is someone not concerned with winning the game. All the Giga Chad Huntress wants to do is just chuck hatchets and try to get orbital hits, ridiculous shots through tiny little holes in the wall, long-range shots. That's all they care about. They're typically just going to run aura perks because they don't care about slowdown. They just want to just hit shit far away. I'm going to have to put that in a solid A tier. These are killers that just want to have a good time. They want to improve the killer that they're playing. They're not necessarily trying to do anything mean. They just want to hit some sweet-ass trick shots. You know what? That's S tier, actually. I'm raising that up. That is the epitome of Chad behavior, so I got to respect that. I'm noticing a Chad pattern here in the S tier so far. These are your map offering bitches. These are the guys on Killer and Survivor that, you know, for Killer, it's going to be the Midwich Nurse. For Survivor, it's going to be, I don't know, the Boil Over with Dead Dog or Head On with Dead Dog Saloon or just whatever stupid synergy they have with their build. And it's going to just completely screw over one side. These guys are a pretty solid D tier. The one reason that they're not F tier is sometimes they inadvertently give the killer a good map offering for what they have. For example, the Survivor might burn a game offering like, hey, I want to have 25 safe pallets. That's fun. But then the killer is like Skull Merchant with Surge, and you're just like, oh, fuck. This is like the worst thing scenario. So it can end up actually working out for the other side unintentionally. That's the only thing that saves it from being F tier. But map offering betas are a solid D tier every time. Map offerings are just super unfair in the game. They just, too much advantage in DBD is based off of maps. And the fact that you just simply have control over that it's too much in my opinion. Next, we have your no slowdown Chads whatsoever. Now, these people are not necessarily A tier. I'm going to put them in, they're not necessarily S tier. I'm going to put them in A tier because these killers don't run slowdowns at all, but typically what they are running are very strong killers, or they're playing in a very, strong way to win. So the play style they use might be less than fun to go against, but the fact that you don't have to deal with your gen going from 100 to 0 50 times in a match is a very, very nice breath of fresh air, and it's very rare to see nowadays. Likely, these killers running 0 slowdowns are actually very good, and you're actually more likely to lose against people that are so confident they don't need slowdowns than you are against babies that run 4 slowdowns and don't even know how to use them properly. So they can be scary to go against, and typically you'll see that unlike killers that have great map control, Hillbilly, for a perfect example, is a killer that where if you master Hillbilly, in 99% of your matches, you don't need any slowdown perks. You need aura reading and chase perks, and you will just shit on people in 5 seconds every chase, and you'll be able to start new chases instantly. So those types of killers can afford to run no slowdowns whatsoever. I'm not saying you can do this with, like Trapper. If you run no slowdowns on Trapper, you're going to lose, and that's pretty much it. But for the most part, killers that do not rely on slowdowns whatsoever are pretty Chad in my book. But again, very hard to do, and you have to use the higher end of killers for that. Then we got our pre-droppers. These are people that just simply go to a pallet and drop it as if they're in a comp tournament. There's almost no difference between a rank 20 meg and a absolutely god tier player that simply just takes zero risks and does the safest possible option every single time. These are people that are very boring to chase. They just go to a pallet, drop it, no looping involved whatsoever. It can be good for you because if it's on a map that simply doesn't have that many pallets, you might get through half the pallets in the map in 30 seconds, which is great. But if it's on a map like the game and they're pre-dropping it, you can't really do anything about it unless you're a killer that ignores pallets. So it's a pretty average one for me. Sometimes I like seeing pallets pre-dropped as killers. Sometimes I'm very bored by it. So very middle of the pack for me. Next, we have the PTB Clown, who I'm honestly going to put in S tier because they're an unexplainable enigma. The PTB Clown is not even a clown. It's more the spirit of a player that spends time downloading the PTB, spends 20 minutes in the killer queue, and then plays a killer that has had no changes in the patch. So people immediately disconnect and they just simply waste all of their time. These are people that are batshit insane, but also extremely Chad. So PTB Clowns, they wait 20 minutes to have everyone DC. There's no DC penalties on the PTB, so survivors get to queue into another match in 5 seconds, and the killer has to wait another 20 minutes. They're in a league of their own. Absolute Chad behavior. Next, we have the Perk Brains. Perk Brains are killers that rely, or actually survivors too, because it works with perks like life, for example. These are players that rely so heavily on their perks that they just forget how to play the game entirely. These are the types of killers. How many times have you had a killer get a hook, come to you, and you're injured and in range to be downed, and instead of downing you for free, they go and just pop the generator instead, and you get to go away for free? How many times do you see a survivor like take a vault that makes no sense in order just to get life, and they just end up making no distance because of it, because they just had to use their perk at that time? These are people that will have save the best for last and avoid the obsession the entire game, even if they're literally body blocking them and ruining all of their chases. Perk Brain is a very serious condition that affects a lot of people in DBD, and it affects both sides. These people are just, I don't want to say stupid, they're just very inexperienced and a very low tier type of player, because they have no idea what the hell they're doing, and they just need to realize that sometimes you don't need to use your perk right at that exact second. You know what? I'm actually going to bump it up to C tier, because if you're on the opposing side, it's funny to see sometimes. So I'll actually raise it up a bit because it's funny to laugh at it sometimes. Next, we have the no, I'm going to self-care in a corner, do not heal me type of players. These are the players that bring self-care or, you know, a med kit and will not let you heal them even if you're right next to them, even if it's faster for you to heal them. They're going to go 17,000 meters away and go heal in a corner, and that's it. I'm going to put these players in D tier because likely they're just simply wasting more time. They're denying you points, and it's just an overall time loss for everybody. I'm not saying that you always need to be healed by somebody, and in fact, sometimes it's better to heal yourself, but I'm talking about the people that will be right next to you and just will not get healed. I've had people, when I have will make it and the killer's in a chase across the map, I'll unhook them, and they will still run into a corner in self-care when I can heal them in 8 seconds. Just let me heal you. Next. Oh, yeah. This is... I'm so proud of this image. These are the types of players that will be an absolute sweat lord on whatever side they're playing. Or I guess this is mostly killer. These are the killers that will be extremely sweaty. They will run 4 slowdowns and play like their life depends on it. And then, once they've tunneled someone out at 5 gens, then they're all friendly. Then they're super nice. Hey, let's farm, guys. I know I can't lose anymore, so now let's just be a jolly good time. That is the most beta behavior of all time. I would much rather a killer commit to just being a sweaty bitch. If he just committed to just being sweaty, that's honestly B tier. Because, like, you know what? You slay, queen. You do whatever you want. But it's the people that try to have the best of both worlds where they just tunnel the shit out of somebody in the first 2 minutes of the game and then act suddenly like they're nice. Like, no, you're not playing nice. Embrace the fact that you're not playing nice. You're being sweaty. That's okay. You can play however you want. But don't try to pretend like you're not doing that. Oh, those are the worst type of players. Easy F tier. Next, we have the I watched it on YouTube and I'm trying to replicate it but cannot do it because I'm not good enough to do it players. These players are going to be an average C tier for me because, again, when I'm going against them, it's hilarious. It's just free downs. You have people trying to do CJTCH, dumb techs. They just die every time they try it. It's hilarious. So I love seeing it. But at the same time, when I'm playing Survivor and I see people try this shit, I'm just like, just do a generator, man. You're not going to be in a montage. Just please be useful. So I think it's going to be an average C tier. It's people that just watch their favorite YouTubers. I know you can't tell on this image. I'll post this tier maker for you guys if you want it. But I have JRM's face because to me, he's like the poster boy of like, he's extremely good at the game. I'd say 90% of the player base cannot, put people in holes as well as he does. And so he can do it because he's good at it, but most people can't do that. And then when they try, they just fail and eat shit, and it's just funny as hell to watch. So that's pretty much it. Next, we have the Tunneling Nemesis. Tunneling Nemesis is A tier. I don't know why he gets a pass. It's just something so wholesome about a Nemesis tunneling and a Bubba face camping. It's like their God-given right to be able to do that. There are literally tunneling emotes on Twitch that are just Nemesis running at you very fast. Nemesis tunneling, completely acceptable. Any other killer, then it start to be worthy of complaining about. But for some reason, when I get tunneled by a Nemesis, I'm just like, oh, he's doing what he's supposed to. Look at him go. It just makes me happy. This is a weird one for a lot of people, I know. But seeing a tunneling Nemesis just makes me happy. I don't know why. Wait a minute. Oh, no. I just realized I have two... I had two Distortion Rats. Okay, so the first Distortion Rat was just a standard Distortion Rat. This is more the type of player specifically that just hides after they unhook you. That's an F tier. At least a Distortion player can be useful because they're not, like, getting downed or chased a lot. These are the players that just simply get you killed because they unhook you and then fuck off and hide. Those are F tier players. You never want them on your team. They are the worst. I don't even know what is going... Oh... So these are the exit gate teabaggers. These players are honestly just, they're probably F tier too. I don't mind teabaggers at all. In fact, I think if you teabag during a match when there's still a chance you can die, that's ballsy. I respect that. I'm like, okay, you realize I can still kill you, right? Like you're talking some shit, but you're not safe. I can definitely still kill you. And maybe I'll make it a priority to kill you now. And that's why I feel like if people teabag or taunt mid-match, that's totally fine. It's when you teabag once you've already won that they're like, you pussy, just fucking leave at that point. Fortunately, I never lose ever, and I'm the greatest player ever, so I never see anybody at the exit gates, no copium. But for the most part, I think people that teabag at the exit gates are just sore winners. There's nothing shittier than a sore winner. Just leave. Or heal. Get exit gates, or get exit points, with healing and stuff like that. Even let that killer hit you. That's totally fine, too. That gives the killer some points. Even that's good manners. Just don't teabag the exit gate. You won. Just one exception. Sometimes. Shit, I might have to modify this a little bit. I'm going to put it at the top of F tier. There's one exception. It's if you are the survivor and the killer was like tunneling you the entire game and that's all they did. And they just relentlessly tried to tunnel you and they just couldn't do it. Then sometimes it's pretty sweet giving them some bags at the end. I will admit I've done that once or twice if the killer's being absolute little shit. But pretty much every other scenario, it's just sore winners. It just sucks. Next, we have the... God, how do I describe this one? This is the type of killer player that will play like, they're in a tournament. So they're playing super sweaty and someone disconnects. It happens, right? So someone DCs. Now, the other players in that match are in a 3v1 at 5 gens versus a comp killer playing like their life depends on it. That's a pretty safe bet to go next. So these players will just go, okay, I give up. They'll just run to the killer and say, okay, please just end it. You win. Like, there's a 0 chance we can win. What is even this is a pre-rendered cutscene at this point. You are never going to lose this. So killer survivors will go up and, give up. And then out of spite, because a different person DC'd and ruined the game, then the killers will intentionally, out of spite, slug the people that give up for 4 minutes. And this is absolutely beta behavior. If you want to just play sweaty, that's fine. But I feel like if you want to play sweaty, that means your end goal is you just want to win above all else and that you don't care about anyone else's feelings. You just simply want to win. And that's okay. That's fine. If you want to have that mindset, I don't know why you're playing this game, but that's fine. You bought the game. Again, you can play however you want. But that doesn't mean that you should just intentionally spite people because that has nothing to do with you winning at that point. At that point, you're just a dick. Like, there's a difference between tunneling because you want to win and tunneling because you're just a dickhead. If you do this type of behavior where people have clearly given up and then you just spite them by keeping them in the match, you're just a dick. So don't do that. You suck. Next we have the comp 4-man that for some reason got lost and they're in public lobbies. These are also F tier players as well. These are the type of players that like do clock call outs and they're playing like their life depends on it against the fucking pig with 12 hours. Like, what are you doing, man? Just go scrim. You're not in the right place right now. I don't think playing with four-mans is necessarily part of this. Playing with four-mans and with your friends, and that's totally fine. I'm talking about those people that play like they are just in a tournament when there's nothing on the line and they're just playing public matches. That's just as equally as cringe as a 4 slowdown nurse that's just... Like, why? You don't need to do that. Just go play scrims if you want to have that kind of sweaty match. It makes no sense to me. That is it, though. I know there are other player archetypes. I just ran out of steam to make this incredible artwork for all these tier lists. So I'm going to post this tier list. You can make your own using all these images. But that is going to be my DBD Dead by Daylight, my Dead by Daylight player list. Damn. I almost made it 25 minutes without needing to edit. You know what? No, we're going in. One take. I'm leaving that in. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.